Welcome for those of you who are joining right now, and those of you who are joining this, watching it at a later date, welcome. It's been about a month since I've done this. I've been in the middle of moving. I'm in a new place, and a lot has transpired in this last month with traveling and um, kind of putting roots in a new place here in Salt Lake City. So, welcome. I don't have any notes today because I had sort of an epiphany yesterday. And as soon as I had it, I thought, that's what I want to share. I'm always thinking, what is it that feels like I don't want to say the right thing because then it implies that there's a wrong thing. I don't ever believe that there's a wrong way to do something, because we're always exactly where we're supposed to be at any given time and moment. So, this awareness was really beautiful for me. And so I want to bring it forward. But before we do that, I want to just invite you to wherever you are right now, if it's safe, to just take a few deep breaths to become more present. I've said this before, but we can't breathe in the past or the future. We breathe here now. And so it's a beautiful anchor into presence is to just be aware of your breath and set an intention for every inhale that you're inhaling all the most beautiful energies into your cells, into your physical body, your energetic body, your etheric body. And as you exhale, you are releasing any energy, any attention to things that no longer serve you, the static, the excess, anything that feels like a burden. So I just invite you to be present with your breath, setting those intentions to just be here now, nowhere else to be, nothing to be thinking about. When we think about presence, what does that even mean? Like if you slow down and be more still, presence is just awareness of right now. Think about it. We can't be in the future. It doesn't exist right now. We can't be in the past. It doesn't exist right now. It only exists when we are giving our attention to those thoughts. They only exist as thoughts, those two states of being. And if you're really honest with yourself, how often, I'm going to include myself in this, if we are really honest with ourselves, how often do we spend, like I wish I could quantify the percentage or amount of time a day in a 24-hour period that I actually spend in one of these two states of being. In the past, thinking about the past, like what I could have done or what I should have done, or if that had happened differently, or any of those thoughts that we do, or living in the future, believing that because this happened in the past, that it's gonna happen again. So then we set ourselves up for more suffering, more of what happened already in the past. So when we can step back in the present moment and invite awareness of now, what am I seeing? Like a really good way. This is kind of like CBT. I love to weave psychology and spirituality or quantum physics and metaphysics together. Because they support each other and they're so beautiful. But CBT would be just being aware of your thoughts and what's around you. So you're aware of now instead of living in the past or the future in your thoughts. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is just basically becoming aware of your thoughts so you can be more present and have less stress. It's a way to manage anxiety, depression, some of the things that psychology would deem disordered, but I would say that it is more of a spiritual practice to come back to the now moment and be aware of, oh, I'm thinking about something that happened 5 minutes ago or 10 years ago or 5 decades or 4 decades ago, right? If you're my age, but living in those states of being create suffering when we're clinging to something that was really great and we want it to happen right now. So we're trying to control the outcomes. So let me just share with you the epiphany I had yesterday. It was this awareness. And it's funny because we don't know what we don't know. We aren't aware or conscious of what we're not aware of. So as we bring more awareness to presence, then we actually increase our awareness and our consciousness, which I believe is why we're here. It's to remember our soul. Our soul wanted to experience. It's the thing, okay, think of, here's a good metaphor. If you've ever flown in a plane and it's been like foggy and cold and raining down as you're taking off in the airplane, and then you go up, 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 there's the sun. You pop up above the clouds and the sun is there and it's always there. That is constant. That would be like our thoughts. Our thoughts and living in the past or the future in our thoughts would be that gray, rainy weather. And maybe you like that. Maybe it's comfortable to be in that space, thinking and analyzing with our brain, because our brain it was meant to fix problems, our brain. So if we're always thinking with our brain instead of feeling intuitively into our heart and our soul, what we truly are, our true nature, then we keep looping and creating more of the same thoughts about. Really, if we're thinking about the past, we're a victim of things that happened, believing that we don't have any control of our future because we keep staying in the past, believing we're a victim instead of saying, wait, I get to choose my thoughts right now, and that will create a different future because I'm now leading with my heart instead of my brain. Okay, so our soul is like that sun. It's always there. It's our true nature, which is joy and peace. So, this epiphany I had was as I was thinking about a situation that I've had recently, right? Thinking about something that happened in the past but was really beautiful. I used that as a guide to start thinking about the circumstances of my life and what I'm coming to believe about the circumstances of my life, to stop being a victim of my past. And I got really present and I was like, what am I feeling right now? And it was so much joy and so much peace and a lot of bliss. And the thought came to me, kind of this, I don't know if I want to call it a thought. It was more of like this clear knowing that the deepest desires of my heart. I want to ask each of you this. Like, if you had to be still and really identify for you, because it might be different for each one of us. I think, of course, it will. There are as many paths as there are people. So your deepest desires of your heart will be different than mine, perhaps. And it's a fluid thing. I think that changes as we move through life and our lived experiences and becoming more aware and conscious of what is it that I truly desire. I think like the old Noel might have had goals for um, getting more degrees or gathering more material things, like maybe having a nicer house and something more comfortable, a reliable car, some things that are more materialistic. But now I'm not saying like, oh, I've evolved, but I'm saying it's interesting as I really am tapped into my heart in a way that maybe I didn't have access to before. There's this clear knowing the deepest desires of my heart are to be a clear vessel of love. And what does that even mean? So for me, because that will mean something different for each person, and that's another fluid thing that we kind of go through as we live, but it's being in front of each being or situation or relationship, whatever, that I am with in every now moment and showing up as a clear mirror of love. And for me, that means to connect to, I think my deepest desire in the past, if I'm really honest, in relationship with anything, was to have depth, to have a connection that was deep and honest and vulnerable and emotionally present and emotionally mature, like able to talk about emotions and feelings without having having so much resistance. And I'm able to do that now in a way that I always desired. And so it struck me yesterday, what I've always longed for was this deep connection with other. And I had always, so this is the key. In the moment yesterday, I realized, oh my goodness, I've had this awareness suddenly. I always blamed the people or the situations that I was in as it was their fault somehow that we were unable to connect in a deeper way. So it was their inability. They were not emotionally present. They didn't have the depth. And it dawned on me yesterday, oh my goodness, I'm not understanding the truth of reality is if we are blaming anything outside of us, pay attention because it lives here first. So this awareness yesterday was really beautiful for me because I realized all along I'd been blaming life, other people for my inability to have a deeper connection. And where it all starts, where it always starts is here. That saying, everything you've been seeking lives within you. And I used to be like, what does that even mean? Yes, I get what it means. But now I understand it on deeper levels. And I think and believe that it will continue to go deeper and deeper as I have more awareness around things like this. And what that awareness was, how could I ever possibly believe? And there's emotion here because for so much of my life, I didn't understand this. How could I ever believe that I could have depth of connection with other if I've been withholding it from me? And when I say that, my there's no blame here. There's so much compassion for myself and all the versions of me that was still blaming other for my lack of depth with myself. I had never taken the time. I didn't have the tools, and there's no blame here. And that was the awareness yesterday. I started crying because I was like, oh, there's so much tenderness around this. Because of course I didn't have the resources of or the tools back then, that version of me in the past, to know anything else but to blame someone else for the lack of depth here. And so as I give myself that compassion and the tenderness, my awareness around it continues to grow and blossom because I'm not withholding it from myself. I'm not judging myself. I'm not thinking that it's something outside of me that should be different so I can have a deeper relationship with whatever it is I'm standing in front of. Does that make sense? If you have any thoughts about this, please comment because I'm so curious where you all land with this. I can think of all of the effort, all of the effort I would make, all the attention. So where our attention goes, our energy flows. So I was giving so much energy trying to navigate, trying, over efforting, having deeper relationships, thinking that I needed to control these things, these circumstances, these people, these relationships in order to have it go deeper. When really, if I had been still, more still, and become aware that the truth is, like the sun that's always there above the clouds, my soul, my soul's true nature is depth, is peace, is abundance, is love without conditions. And when I tap into that here and start bringing that, like giving and receiving it from here, like this loop here, right here, all the attention, all the energy right here. I'm now growing because where our energy goes, we grow. We're growing something. So if we're believing we're a victim and we give our attention and our energy to victimhood, that will grow. And that creates more suffering for ourselves and everyone in our lives, really. So when we turn that love in, that attention, it grows and it gets to be more and more beautiful. Have you ever thought of your inner realm like a garden? Something to tend to. If you had to tell me the state of your inner garden right now, what would you say about it? Is it arid and dry? Is it wild and free? Is it cut back to its root? Is it thriving and moist and juicy? What is the state of your inner realm? How often do you tend to it? How often are you even aware that it exists as a state of being? And as you tend to it and water it with tenderness and compassion that it's been waiting for patiently, then it grows something really, really it's untouchable. It's tending to the aspect of you that is never not there with you. And it's been patiently waiting for you to tend to her. And as I have slowly been doing this, I think the more I talk about it with clients and I see it start to shape and change their lives as they become more present and still in our busyness, it is impossible. I promise you, it is impossible in our busy lives to become so distracted from present moment awareness that we're unable to tend to anything. Have you ever been driving or just doing stuff around your house, busy, cleaning or doing something, and you walk into a room and you get there and you're like, why did I come into this room? Or I've been driving for 5 minutes. How did I get here? I don't even remember driving here. I've just been doing, not present, just thinking about something that happened or something I'm hoping is going to happen in the future, or something I'm worrying about in the future. And now here I am. I don't even know how I got here or why I'm here. Has that ever happened to any of you? It's happened to me a lot, more and more in the past. And as I have practiced tending to the present moment and being like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this thing again. Okay, be here right now. Who is in front of me? Where am I? Why am I here? What am we can do and do and do, but we were meant to be here, to experience all of life as a human being, not doing. We came here to be joyful, to be sad, to experience anger and grief and love and bliss and appreciation, all of it, the whole spectrum, the whole rainbow, not black and white, like not living in these polarities, believing that one's good and one is bad, one is right, one is wrong. They're all meant to be lived. Why? Why? Why would we come here to experience all of that as a soul that already is so peaceful? We live in an ever expanding universe of which we are not separate from. As above, so below, as within, so without. So what is our inner realm like? Is there a war going on in here? Because if there is, if we haven't tended to this garden, this inner realm that always exists, and if we give a lot of thought to it, it continues to stir. But when we let the water settle through breathing or by being here in our senses, Like, what am I seeing? Oh, there's the beauty of that sunset. What am I smelling? Oh, there's flowers here. Or, oh, there's that putrid smell from the garbage. Whatever it is, be here now, be present, and experience it all. Because when we're here presently to experience what's happening, we have feelings about it and we have emotions about what we are experiencing. And when we can be present as the observer of our experiences, everything shifts. Because when we are the observer of our emotions, we're taking a step back from deeming it, oh, this emotion is good or bad or right or wrong, or I shouldn't be thinking that. We stop judging our experience and we're just with it, observing it, experiencing it to gather wisdom about our experiences as being human. And we start to expand our awareness of actually who we be and what our true nature is. That one simple practice all day, every day, will change your life. I promise. It has changed my life in ways that I can't even list out because it keeps arriving in deeper and deeper ways. How it's changing me, how it's bringing me more close to the true nature of me, which is joy, which is love, which is more clear. And now, I've talked about this before, we're always sending out an energetic signal. We are either aware of it or not. What is the signal we're sending out? It's almost like fingerprint, a fingerprint that is so individual to each person. And if we have awareness, like, oh, awareness of our thoughts, awareness of our emotions, and we're observing it and not judging it, we're just living these things and letting them move through us like weather, not clinging to them as good, bad, right, or wrong, suddenly we're experiencing life in a different way. And the signal we're sending out isn't one of judgment or fear or anger or malice or just maybe false joy, trying to pretend we're not feeling all those things and trying to keep them down. So imagine, maybe you've done this before. Have you ever taken a beach ball and you've tried to put it underwater, hold it underwater? That's what it's like when we're trying to navigate our emotions and keep them pushed down and pretend they don't exist. So someone cuts us off and we get angry. Remember the story about the empty boat that came and hit the Buddhist that was, he was meditating and in bliss and he had sudden anger with his eyes closed, thinking that someone came in the boat and purposely bumped him. And he opened his eyes and it was an empty boat. And he realized the anger didn't come from the boat. The anger lived in him already. The boat was just life. And it triggered what already lived in him. So when we're trying to push down the beach ball under the water all the time of our emotions, saying, oh, I can't be angry, or oh, I can't be um I can't be judgmental. I can't be any of the things that I deem bad or wrong. The energy that it takes and the attention it takes to keep pushing that beach ball down is going to keep us so busy and distracted from actually being present. Does that make sense? Can you imagine letting the beach ball go and just living, just being and observing life as it comes and it goes and not judging it as good, bad, right, or wrong, and just observing it, maybe even laughing, realizing, oh my goodness, what a gift I am gaining by being an observer of my experiences instead of a judger. All the energy that it took to hold down all of the things we're judging so they don't come up and they don't trigger us into something we shouldn't be feeling or don't want to feel. That energy is now ours to use in a very different way. Now we get to gather that energy back to ourselves, contain it right here and become a more clear vessel of love. Love without conditions. There's no judgment. When you're just in love, when you're in your true nature, which is love, which is presence, which is abundance, can you see the difference energetically of the signal you're now sending out? It's not one of over efforting and lack. I lack this thing, so I need to cling to all of this and control this so I can stay in this state of being. No, anger will come and it will go. Grief will come and go. Fear will come and go. We're here to have these experiences as humans, but the beauty of letting them come and go like a weather pattern is that we get to observe them and not make them mean anything about us. We're just here observing as a soul, like the sun above the clouds. It's always there observing weather patterns and not judging them. And that is freedom. That is liberation. And as you step into that energy, the signal that you're sending out is one of abundance and one of love, a clear mirror of love. So now everyone, every experience, everything that you, well, let's get back to the basics of quantum physics. When you're sending out a signal, what is it going to match with? Because everything's energy. What wants to align with your signal? So let's pretend your signal is one of suffering and fear and lack and judgment and jealousy and all the things that feel heavier because they resonate at a deeper, lower frequency that feels uncomfortable. The signal we're sending out is going to bring back into our lived experience, our reality, remember, as within, so without. And if there's a war here, you're going to experience that same thing in your reality. So your signal goes out, and what are you experiencing? If you are not happy, if you are judging, if you are not liking your reality right now, think, how was I living some weeks ago, months ago, minutes ago, hours ago? What was I thinking about? Because that's what your reality is showing back to you now. Because it matches the signal you were sending out before, and it will continue to do that. So if our power, can you see how our power lies right in every now moment? Because when we are become more aware and conscious of the signal we choose to send out, what comes back now is aligned with our true nature, our abundance, our clear, non-judgmental, unconditional love of what is. And that starts to change your reality in dramatic ways. Synchronicities come in, opportunities come in, because you now are believing that you are an abundant being, and abundance flows where there's more abundance. And that will continue to play out in your reality. And that's the experiment. Isn't it worth experimenting just a little bit every day? Oh my gosh, okay, let me breathe right now and be present with what is. If I don't like it, I'm not going to try to resist and change it. I'm going to say, aha, of course this is happening right now, because I'm going to be really self-responsible and honest that I've been living in a lot of fear. There's been a lot of lack and some judgment of myself that I should be doing things different, or I should be better, or they're better at this, or I'm better at this than they are. Anything like that gets to clear as you just observe and laugh and say, oh my gosh, I get to change. I can choose right now a new signal to send out. And then it starts drawing in everything that you desire. We talked in the beginning about your heart's desire. If anyone wants to share in the chat, I would love to hear, maybe even if you're aware, because I shared with you my awareness, the Noël from some years ago had different awareness, a different awareness around what her desires were than now. Now I realize what I longed for deeply was a depth of connection, a depth of love, a depth of emotional intimacy. But I always blamed everything outside of me as not being capable of that because I wasn't self-responsible. It wasn't until I turned in and said, oh my goodness, how could I ever think that I could be connected deeply with something outside of me if I hadn't connected deeply with myself first? So this is, I don't even want to call it work. It's not the work. If you think it feels like work, it will be. It gets to be the most beautiful journey, almost like a sacred pilgrimage back home to your heart. What is it that your heart deeply desires? How is that different than in the past? How could it be different for yourself in the future? Ryan, thank you for being here. I know normally this would be the week that I do the men's gathering. I'm going to do that next week because we happen to have extra weeks in August. But I'm glad you're here and welcome, welcome, welcome. You're always welcome. Ryan says, desires for deep connections and freedom of self-expression. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, deep connection. What does that even mean? For me, it means sending out a signal of the depth of love that I'm feeling more and more for myself, with myself, about myself. I believe more in myself and my ability to show up, to be safe, to tend to my inner realm in a way that is compassionate and tender. How I would expect, how I used to expect others to show up for me, but didn't know to how to even make that happen. And so now that I'm giving that attention and energy to my own inner realm and to myself, I'm starting to understand, wow, it really does flourish right here first. First, always here. And it's not selfish. It's actually the most noble, courageous thing you can do to show up for you and tend to yourself with tenderness and compassion here. And then it so naturally flows out into every relationship, every experience, and it creates a new reality for you. Because now everything becomes, if the whole world, all of our experiences are just neutral, like a mirror. A mirror doesn't, you can't change your reflection. We try to change our reflection, but if we change what is right here, that's how we change our reflection, right? We can't go to the mirror and start to scrub it and do something different to it, right? Can you see that? Everything is a mirror though, and it's neutral. It's always reflecting back to us what we be. Truly, it can't lie. It is neutral. So if we don't like what we're seeing in our mirror, our reality, come back here so tenderly, so compassionately, without any judgment, and just observe, oh, I didn't have the tools or the resources to know how to tend to myself yet. That is okay. There's so much compassion for all the versions of me over all the years that I didn't know how. Of course, I didn't know how. Who was teaching me that? No one. I've learned this over years and sitting with different teachers and experimenting with what suffering felt like for a long time till I finally feel like more and more in deeper ways, I understand now the truth that I am abundant. I am love. And I was seeking it outside of me over and over to be validated by someone else, to be seen by someone else. Those are our sacred needs. But first, they must be met. They get to be met. It's not something that you need to or have to do. You get to do it. That is the gift of giving to yourself first what you were hoping to receive from something, someone, anyone else. Why is that? Why is it that we as humans have come to believe that love exists somewhere outside of us, and we seek it and seek it our whole lives outside of us? So I think if my message is anything at all, the most important message I have for you all is to to turn in. First, we need to be more still, to stop being so busy. This is the practice, is to tune in, tune in to this inner realm and tend right here in every now moment. How do I want to feel in any now moment? That's your guide. If I am not feeling love or joy or peace, what I desire, like Ryan said, his desire was for deep connection and freedom of self-expression. Then if he isn't feeling that, what took him away from feeling that? Probably his thoughts, right? If that's what takes us away from any now moment, is thinking with our brain about past or future. Two states of being that don't even exist now. Do you understand that? When we start to get really clear on the illusion of past and future, we can start laughing like, oh my goodness, I've been living in illusions for a lot of my life, if I'm really honest, trying to change the future and control it, or trying to make peace with my past instead of just saying, oh my goodness, I get to hold those versions of me with so much compassion and let them just be. It already happened. There's no changing it. So why am I still spending so much energy thinking about it? Okay. If any of you have questions about what I am speaking to, if anything felt wonky, or if I didn't explain myself, sometimes I go on tangents or start to go down a rabbit hole and it's maybe not so clear, the path. So in a nutshell, I'm here today quickly to share the epiphany I had yesterday, which was my deepest desire of my heart when I get really still and all the dust settles and there's more clarity, is to have deep emotional intimacy and love without conditions for everything in my experience, and not judging it good, bad, right, or wrong, just observing it with so much compassion. And as I'm starting to do that more and more, I realize the reason it wasn't happening before for me was because I was blaming, and I guess, if I'm really honest, judging the people in my life, the experiences I had had or was having, as it was their fault. They weren't emotionally available for me, or they didn't have the depth. So therefore, that didn't work. So yesterday I realized, and I've understood it before, but somehow it just dropped down even deeper. And I realized, oh my goodness, I was blaming those experiences, those people, instead of owning it here. The depth could never be created as a bridge between me and something or someone else, because I hadn't crossed the bridge into my own heart to love here without conditions, to give tenderness and depth and acceptance here, and validation here, no longer seeking it from someone else, making them the ones that had to bring it for me. Does that make sense? And there's no blame, because I realized I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the resources. So let's talk about this. If anyone wants to raise their hand and share their own experience with this or something else. Okay, Deborah has a question. How do you train yourself and those around you who are used to the busy, efficient, people pleaser and helper person that I've always been? to allow me to transcend that version of me into the new higher version of me that desires to live in a more peaceful and self-sovereign way instead of always helping? Okay, such a beautiful question. And let's be honest, our reality of now is persistent and persuasive and having us believe that it must remain so because it's already been, it's our reality has gained so much momentum in being true that we have come to believe it is true because we don't know another way. So some of the things that I'm speaking to now are, yes, we can get the concept. We're like, yes, yes, I get the concept. That sounds so beautiful. That's kind of where I see you being, Debbie. Like, okay, I get it. I get it. This is an experiment. I can change my thoughts and change my life. You know, Wayne Dyer talks about that. Change your thoughts and change your life. When you change the way you see things, the things you see change. And that is true. But how do we actually do it? That is the key. And the key is being aware, bringing your awareness to every now moment. This is for each one of you, not just for Debbie, and it's for me too. I continue to practice this every single day, and I'm noticing now that things are changing, that synchronicities are happening, that I am less judgmental. Someone said, just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not happening. Thank you, whoever sent that. How are we able to celebrate our wins? Remember this, where our attention goes, our energy is flowing. If we are consistently thinking, so another saying that is also true is we will only ever be experiencing in our reality what we believe is true. If we believe that everyone around us expects us to be a people pleaser and a helper, and I must show up this way, and I've trained them because I've trained myself to believe this, that will continue to be true because you're giving your attention to that belief. When we take our attention to our wins, let's say just once in one day, you have a little more awareness around your now moment. Like, oh, I see me being a people pleaser. I'm going to actually have a conversation with this person and say, you know what? I would have said, yes, I'm going to do that. But now I'm being more present and I'm going to say, let me think about that. Or, you know what? I'm not available for that right now. I'm not going to be able to help you with that right now. And that's okay. I'm not judging it. They may have a certain way to feel about that. Because if they are used to you being a certain way and you suddenly stop being that way, they will probably, might, who knows, have something to say about that. And that's okay because that is their reality reflecting back to them. They're going to be triggered by you showing up differently in their reality when actually what you're giving them is a gift. So you showing up in your aligned truth with love, right? Speaking with love, with the bridge between your heart and your throat chakra. When you start showing up in authenticity for yourself, I promise you there's a bridge that grows between your heart and your throat, and you start speaking truth with the energy of love. So you're not showing up blaming someone else or saying, you always expect me to be this way. No, you're just saying, I am choosing to not be available for that right now. And that they may have a certain way to feel about that. And that's okay, because that's theirs. No one is in charge of making us feel a certain way when we say, well, they said this, so therefore I was angry. Can someone actually make you feel a certain way? People will think that because you said this, they should be this way or feel that way. That is not truth. Remember, whatever is going on in here is creating the reality. So as you step away from people pleasing, the energy of people pleasing, I'm going to say this and it may trigger some people because I remember when I first heard this, it triggered me. People pleasing is a very, very subtle form of manipulation. Because what it is at its essence is showing up in front of each person that we're showing up in front of. If I'm a people pleaser, I'm going to show up in front of Debbie in a certain way because I believe Debbie needs me to be nice or to be kind or to be helpful. So I am not showing up as my authentic self if I'm trying to shape shift to be what I believe Debbie wants me to be so I can be seen as helpful or kind or service oriented. Does that make sense? And then if I show up in front of Camila or Ryan in a different way, oh, they need me to be productive or helpful, whatever that is. Or this person over here wants me to gossip and wants me to support them in whatever they're going through right now. And they're saying these things about this person, and they want me to hop in on and validate their experience of how they were hurt by this person. And they want me to jump on the bandwagon of gossip. And I'm not available for that anymore. So I'm going to either say, oh, I'm not available for that, or I'm just going to kind of pull away a bit. And they're going to have a way to feel about that because I'm not acting in the same way. People pleasing is, can you see how that's a subtle, it's so subtle. It's very subconsciously, we are showing up as what we think people want us to be, but we're not showing up as our true self, which is more aligned with love and abundance and not judging or gossiping and not pleasing others in order to be seen a certain way. Does that make sense? Okay, Camilla, but it's such a fine line too when we really enjoy being a helper as well. Yes, I resonate with you, Deb, but I struggle to know my own limit and when to say no because it feels like my heart wants to help everything and everyone. Yes. What you just said, sis, feels like it's about others saying, drop your selfishness so I can be continue my selfishness. Yes, that too. Thank you, Camilla and Noel. Yes. How you explain people pleasing is something I've never heard, and it's the best I've heard. Thank you, Noel. When I heard that, it triggered me because I was like, wait, no, no, no. I just really want to be, I guess what I really wanted to be was seen as kind and helpful and loving. But the energy behind it, like you said, Camilla, of course I want to show up in love. But really, you guys, what it comes down to is loving here first. Am I loving that I'm saying yes to everyone? Or is there some, if I am having any resentment, if I am resenting that I said yes, then that's people pleasing and it's not being true to myself. When I can be clear about what resonates as yes, I want to help with that because I want to help with that and I have time for it and I'm not resentful. That is truth. That is not people pleasing. And there is a fine line. Check in with yourself first. Am I saying yes to please someone else? Or am I saying yes because I deeply resonate with that as something that I'm available for right now? That is your truth. And over as you practice being still and checking in with yourself before you say yes, because it's so easy to say yes if we've done it for so many years. The momentum has been going. It's hard. It's really, well, it's what I believe it is. If I say, oh, that's going to be hard, it will be. If I say, you know what? This is going to be awesome. I believe this is going to be easy. And I believe that God, source, the universe, all that is, the great mystery is there to support me in becoming more conscious and aware, then that will be so. So that's where I live. I live believing that everything is here to support me in my path of opening up my awareness of who I truly be. And when I believe that, everything starts to change. It gets easy to be more present with myself, in love with me, and in love with everything else. Does that make sense? Okay. And when you celebrate your wins, you're giving your attention to that inner realm, that garden that just wants to be tended to, and it starts to tend to you. And so now it's this symbiotic relationship with all that is, that lives in here. We are never separate from God, from source, from all that is. We just came here to experience, forgetting that forgetting that we are one with it. So our lived experience is to experience forgetting and believing that we're separate. And so now, as we start to become more aware, more conscious of, oh my goodness, I've never been separate from it. I am that love. It lives here in me. I'm never separate from it. Then it becomes easier. And you start to celebrate that more and more. And guess what starts growing? That energy, that signal. And it goes out into the universe and it comes back as more of the same. Ryan says, I've learned to be honest with the ways I see how I lie to myself about how I feel. Thank you for saying that. I would say that I spent many, many years gaslighting myself, not even knowing that I was gaslighting myself. That's part of my forgetting. That's been part of my path. And every single one of us has our own path of forgetting. So, can you see how easy it becomes to become more compassionate with everything, every person, when we understand, oh my goodness, everybody is on their own path. They are going to have their own timing. Time is relative. Time moves through us. We aren't moving through time, but we believe it because we're in this three-dimensional experience, believing that time exists in the way that we believe it is, as past and future, when it's all relative. It's all happening now. And I know that can be very mind-blowing when you haven't really sat with that thought or tried to feel into the truth of it. So no one is ahead. No one can be behind. There's no one above or below in their path. We're all just here right now doing the best that we can with the awareness that we have in any given now moment. So there's no judgment of our past selves because they're really, I think of it, the most high, wholest, loving, unconditional version. Think of your highest self exists right now in time, exists right now. How do we access that version? It's frequency. It's not time or space. It exists now. How do we tap into it? By giving attention to the frequency of that being. How would they talk to themselves? How would they talk about themselves to other people? How would they wake up every morning? What are their thoughts about others, about life? Is it lack or abundance? Feel the difference in you when you think about lack and speaking your inner dialogue out loud. Would you be embarrassed to speak your inner dialogue out loud? What are you saying to yourself? What are you saying about others? Because if we aren't aware, that dialogue, I promise you, because we're human, we've been taught to judge everything, every experience as good, bad, right, wrong. We're putting everything in a category. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I love that. Oh, I don't like that I do this. I hate that I do that. Oh, I love this. I wish I was more like them. I wish they were more like me, like all of it, all day long. So when we come out of our thoughts and stop believing our thoughts and observe our thoughts, oh my goodness, that's the honesty. We stop gaslighting ourselves and lying, thinking that we should be something other than what we are. That's love without conditions. We're not trying to change ourselves. When we stop efforting trying to change ourselves, we change. We start stepping into the frequency of our wholeness. So that wholest version of us, the highest version of us in its highest frequency, is here right now, observing with so much compassion all the versions of us that exist in some other future or past tense right now, and it's cheering us on. Can you imagine that? Our highest version, like when I think of that, it brings me to tears. She is cheering us on, saying, you've got this, keep going. I'm right here. I'm not judging you. I'm loving you without conditions. When you think of that version of you, holding you, tending to you, Doesn't it make it easier for you to celebrate your wins and be connected to that frequency in a deeper way? That's what I'm talking about. Connect to the aspect of you that is never not there. Create an alliance with her or him. Both and. We are not just all feminine or all masculine energy. We are both. One makes the other true. And we have been raised, let's be honest, let's not gaslight ourselves. We have been raised by a silent generation, not talking about any of this and living in a wounded masculine and feminine energy. And so now we're talking about it. We're more aware of what didn't work and what we want to step into. And when we do that, we are more present without judgment, saying, oh my goodness, I love all the versions of everyone because they are me. We are one. We're not separate. Okay, Camilla says, had a most significant memory and experience of multi-realities during a breath work, and my mind went, your mind was blown. Okay, I want to end this right in a few minutes. So if you want to speak to this really quick, let's do that. But I have like 3 minutes. I want this to be 1 hour. So my recordings aren't so long when people are watching them. I want them to be short and sweet and simple. So people will return and feel like they're actually receiving something that's helpful instead of a long-winded thing. I'm hoping this was helpful. I could talk about this for hours. I really literally could because of how much it has changed my life. Camilla, you also said, I missed this. It feels like I am my highest self for the past and future, and I choose the thoughts and words that I use for those versions of myself that need the best of me now. Beautiful. Thank you. Maybe that was part of what you experience. Debbie says, amazingly helpful. Thank you and bless you. Thank you. I offer this for free twice a month for women and once a month for men. This is my passion. This keeps getting better. This keeps getting better. I promise you, if you had known me a decade ago, you would have seen me as someone that was so attached to perfectionism, believing, because I believed my experience could only be what I believed to be true. And what I believed back then was that I needed to be perfect. What is perfect? To be perfect in order to have value in my family, in my community, in my whole lived experience. And because of that, I became a people pleaser. I was someone who needed to please others in order to feel okay about myself, that I did have value, but I hadn't given any attention to myself because I didn't believe that I was abundant enough to be able to do that. I didn't experiment with what it would be like to love myself. Isn't that strange? We so freely give love to others, but the one that will change your whole lived experience, who's been waiting so patiently for that love without conditions, is right here. She's waiting. She's that highest version of you that is that abundance that is waiting for you to claim it with the frequency of acceptance of all that is right now so when we start accepting ourselves as we are right now, we start to change our frequency. So if you have any body dysmorphia, which of course I've experienced as well too, you name it, I've lived it and experienced it practically, or I've sat with clients who've experienced it. So just sitting here being able to express the truth of my lived experience is a way of accepting it. Speak your truth. Be vulnerable with others. If you cherish depth, emotional intimacy, give it here first. And I promise it will align with everything else that is just like that. And it will call in the experiences and the relationships that will match the depth that you're giving to yourself. Okay. Camilla, I love you, sis. We can touch into that on the next one because it's too joyous to just listen and receive your wisdom right now. Thank you for doing this. And awaken remembrance for humanity. And Camilla is one of my dearest friends from Norway. She's the one that invited me to go live with her. And I thought I'd be there 6 weeks, and I ended up for 7 or 8 months there. And I just love her. And I will be back. I'm going to bring people to you and to the land of that land is sacred. And when I first went there a couple of years ago, I knew the minute I set my feet on that soil, I was like, oh, this is sacred ground. I will be back. The next summer, last summer, I did. I met Camilla. I called that in, you guys. That was one of the synchronicities. When I started to believe that it could be so, it was so. I ended up living there in a sea house out on a remote island by myself in the most beautiful, rugged nature I've ever seen in my whole life. And I've traveled a bit. And so thank you, Camilla, for being here today. Camilla, a great tip. Interstellar is probably the most amazing movie. Yes, on time and the relativity of time and space. That's a good one. Brings me tears. Okay. I love you all. Thank you for showing up here. Please share this recording. I will send it to you in an email. If you want to reach out to me in a direct message, I'm the Buffalo Queen on Instagram, and I can send you the link. Please share it with anyone you think this will benefit. Just showing up as the tenderest lover to yourself. Can you imagine that? What would it be like to show up for yourself as the most tender lover and believe that you can, and it will be so if you believe it is. Okay, so much love for you all. Namaste, which means the divine light and love in me witnesses and adores the divine light and love in you. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Ciao. Take ourselves on a proper date. Yes. Listen to the love songs and sing it to yourself. That's a good one too. I love you all. Ciao.